In this video, we're going to be talking about a very simple game that you can use to rewire your brain for trading success. As you've probably heard, trading is 80% psychology and only 20% the strategy or the mechanics behind it. And you've probably heard a lot of people preaching that you need to work on your psychology, but how can you actually work on your psychology at a neurological level and get the repetitions that a professional trader would have very, very quickly? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can play this little game that'll essentially rewire your brain to think in terms of statistics and probabilities, which is what you need to think of if you want to become a successful trader, which a lot of the times is very difficult because us as human beings, we're emotional creatures, which give us tons of advantages in survival in other areas of life, but it makes trading very, very difficult. So my question to you is, what if there was a very simple childlike game that you could play that could rewire your brain in literally just minutes per day? I'm going to show you this in just a second. The reason that I wanted to make this video is because we offer a robotic trading system that is a 100% mechanical trading system that essentially helps people get funded from prop firms. If you're unfamiliar with prop firms, they're large capital firms. They have this two-phase test generally where you basically have to make like 10% in 30 days. And then if you do that, then you have a second phase where you have to make 5% in 60 days. And if you do that, you become a funded trader and they'll fund you with like generally up to like around $100,000. And the reason I wanted to make this is because while we do have an extremely high success rate with this program, in all honesty, not every person has success. And there's some people in our group that have not had success yet. And so I was thinking, how do some people mess it up so badly? I mean, they're trading a trading robot. All they need to do is put it onto their charts and leave it alone and they can have success. So how do some people still not have success? And what I did is I went through and I studied our most successful members. We've had hundreds of payouts from this exact process. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people get funded using this exact same process. So what are these successful people doing versus the people that are not successful yet? As I started taking a look and talking to members and seeing what was going on, I realized that it all came down to between the ears. It all came down to their psychology. And what I noticed as I looked deeper is I noticed a trend between our most successful members and people that really struggle with trading. And I realized that our most successful members, they generally came from a background or a line of work that requires them to think very logical or to follow instructions. A lot of our most successful members were people like doctors, people like engineers, people that were poker players, these sort of things where it requires your brain to think really, really logically. Also, of course, people that were already successful traders that came into our program, they started using our mechanical trading system and started knocking it out of the park. Why? Because they understood how to think in terms of probabilities and they understood statistics. Another great person would be a statistician or some sort of mathematician. They'd knock this out of the park. So the question is, how can you come in and how can you shorten that gap and get the expertise and rewire your brain to think in terms of statistics and probabilities, even though you're a really emotional creature? So what we're going to do is we're going to play this really simple game to train your brain to think in terms of probabilities. And to start, you might as well start off by defining what probabilities is, right? Probabilities is simply the likelihood of one event happening versus another. So for example, probably the most common way that we can think in terms of probabilities is in terms of flipping a coin. As you know, when you flip a coin, you have a 50-50 odds, or you have a 50% chance of heads and a 50% chance of landing on tails. And so what we could do is go to this little website that I pulled up here. There's a million of these online. And essentially what we could do is we could start flipping a coin. Imagine, for example, that we're taking a $100,000 challenge from True Forex funds, which essentially costs us $500. If we go ahead and land on heads, then we get funded $100,000 worth of trading capital. So that's the wages. And the reason I pull that up is because based on our statistics, we've been able to do better than 50-50 odds, but 50-50 odds, even if you just had this magic coin that if you flipped it and if it landed on heads, you got funded $100,000, you'd probably flip that coin all day long. And that's what we've noticed from the people that are most successful is they get that and they just keep flipping the coin, even if they run into a losing streak. We can go ahead and we can flip a coin 100 times. And again, remember, heads, we're going to go ahead and we get $100,000. Tails, we lose $500. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's flip. Okay, head, great. Head, great. Heads, great. Tails, tails, heads, heads, tails, heads. Okay, so you can see, imagine each time here that we're flipping, okay, a head is that we got funded $100,000. A tails is that we actually lost $500. So you can see the distribution actually quite heavily to the head side. It's about 60% as we look at it. As you can see, it's starting to come down. And as we flip this coin more and more times, we should see that this starts to come closer to the 50-50 ratio. Now here you can see you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tails in a row. Can you imagine that? Imagine taking 5 challenges or taking 5 trades and you lose 5 in a row. That's why trading is so difficult, is because we have to deal with money that we're either losing or making. And in the short term, it can look like, dang, we're really losing bad. We lost 5 times in a row. But at the same time, if you didn't do that, then you'd miss out on this, law of large numbers that basically says that if we just continue flipping, it should get closer to 50-50 odds. We just continue to flip the coin, heads, 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 heads. So right here, you're probably euphoric. You're probably at an all-time high, saying that, oh my God, I just got funded, $400,000. This is incredible. And you just keep flipping the coin, flipping the coin, flipping the coin. And we're almost at 100 here. And then I'm gonna show you a couple other things that will make this even more interesting to you. In this time, we actually got 55% of the time that we flipped the coin, we actually landed on heads, meaning that we got funded $100,000. The way that the law of large numbers works out is if we continue to flip this coin more and more times, we should get closer to the 50-50 ratio. Now, I wanted to show you one other thing here, was that I did it earlier and I flipped the coin, and you can see that I had about a 54% time that it got tails, so meaning we lost 54% of the time, 46% of the time we won. Now, I wanted to point this out to you, and this is why trading can be so difficult and why most people become what we call system hoppers, which they'll start trading a system and they'll think it's not working, and then they'll switch to a new system, and then they'll try to, get that system to work, and maybe they'll win some and maybe they'll lose some, but when they go on a losing streak, they'll abandon the system. They'll become what we call a system hopper, a strategy hopper, which in reality is not a good thing to do because they're just not playing the odds in their favor. And again, this is why it's difficult, because if you look in this example, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tails in a row. So anybody that's a rational human being, after 8 losses in a row, right, you'd want to throw in the towel and you'd say, hey, this doesn't actually work. This is no good. But as you can see here, it ended up 46% of the time actually winning. So, I mean, if you had a 46% chance at getting $100,000, how many times would you flip that coin? You'd still flip it an infinite number of times, even though you had this bad losing streak. So this is the hardest problem with traders is losing streaks. Here again, I did the simulation. You can see I got 55% tails, but if you were to go ahead here and you're to do 1,000 times, then the numbers would get even closer to this 50-50 odds. Here's one little game that you can start to play, which I noticed that people that are sports bettors, people that are professional poker players, gamblers, these people really understand the psychological battles. If you haven't ever been to a casino and played a game like blackjack or 21, then I highly recommend you sign up online for like a free account, okay? You could sign up for a free account and you could start playing this. What I'd actually recommend doing is going out there and putting in like $100 into this or some small amount, so that way you can feel the emotional ride of actually playing this game. As you know, with blackjack, it's really pretty simple. All we're trying to do is we're trying to get our cards as close to 21 as possible without going over 21, and the dealer they're trying to do the same. And so you basically go ahead, you deal, and you can see that, my total is only 14 or 11. The ace is either 1 or 11. I'll hit it and I'll hit again. Okay, so I'm at 11 plus 14, 15, and he's showing a queen. So let's try to hit again. Okay, cool. I'm at 20. So I'll go ahead and I'll just stand here, and he happened to have 22. So it's a push. So neither of us make any money. Okay, and I'm not gonna play this game a whole lot, but I wanna show you just a couple things. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna deal again. The thing to notice about this is, okay, so I hit, the dealer wins, right? In a blackjack, sort of scenario, the odds are pretty close, right? However, the casino does have a slight odd. I think they have like a 3, 4, 5% odd. If you play this game long enough, the odds are actually gonna work against you slowly, but still you'll get to train that emotional muscle of actually betting money. And that's why I recommend just wasting $100 and putting it on yourself. If you play this game long enough, then you probably will actually end up losing because the odds are slightly not in your favor. But with trading, for example, if you have just a slight edge where the odds are slightly in your favor, then it works to your advantage. So I just go ahead and I deal. Okay, I got 20. So I'm gonna just stand here, for example, and he happened to have 22. Okay, so that's another example of a push. And let's just see if I can win one here. So deal, okay, 18, I'm gonna stand. He's got 16, okay, and he busts. Okay, cool, I won, okay? So if you just sit here for a couple hours and you play this game, then it'll help train your psychology. The other thing that I'd recommend doing is going to a website like this and just playing this game as well. Now, what this is gonna do is desensitize you to outcomes really quickly. And that's essentially what we need to become successful traders, is we need to be unemotional to the outcome. Hey, so if you thought this was helpful, then you'd probably wanna see this video right here. Shows a member of ours that's a doctor that got funded $20 million using this exact same strategy that I'm talking to you about, we call prop farming, where he's using robots and prop firms. He ended up making a $1,080,000 payout. Go ahead and check that out right here.